money. It gets us everything. It pays for food, shelter, water. It pays for the things that we need to survive and then the things that we want. Imagine not having it, or maybe you don't have to imagine. No money or less money means that you don't get the things that you want, and sometimes you go without the things you need. People in poverty frequently face this issue. Having a job or even two doesn't guarantee you enough. When I was a kid, my family faced these issues, and we needed government assistance to get by. And a lot of my friends did too. Today, I will discuss why the minimum wage in the United States of America should be at least $15 an hour. First, we will look at poverty and what wages look like, then the amount of government assistance needed in America, and finally, how increasing the minimum wage would help nationwide. First, we will look at the issue. America is facing wide-scale poverty. We know that by the amount of people under the poverty line. Simply put, by an article from World Vision, last accessed on April 14th. A poverty line, also called a poverty threshold, is the line below which it is difficult, if not impossible, to afford basic needs. Current minimum wage is $7.25 an hour and hasn't changed in 10 years. According to an article from the Economic Policy Institute, last accessed March 30th, in 1968, a minimum wage worker earned $10.59 an hour in inflation-adjusted terms, 46% more than today's $7.25 federal minimum wage. The minimum wage today would be over $22 had it tracked productivity increases over the last 5 decades. This low minimum wage disproportionately affects people of color. In 2019, Hispanic workers were being paid 10.8% less than white workers with similar ages and education levels, and black workers were being paid 14.9% less than comparable white workers. Every state that we live in, every state in America, requires more than $7.25 to survive. And the more money that a person makes, the less that they need government assistance, which brings us to my next point. The effects poverty has. Not having enough money is a very uncomfortable spot to be in. People in poverty lose their self-reliance. Being able to survive and have enough anything means getting help from the government. People in poverty that don't get help could be homeless, starving, and just experiencing suffering. But worst of all, children in poverty suffer. According to another article from the Economic Policy Institute, last accessed on March 30th, if the 2021 Raise the Wage Act were passed and the federal hourly minimum wage increased to $15 by 2025, we estimate that annual government expenditures on major public assistance programs would fall by between $13.4 billion and $31 billion. Raising the minimum wage saves the government money and therefore saves the taxpayers money. Or it makes it so that the money can go to other things, road work or schools, public funding. My personal experience with poverty was my stepdad worked minimum wage, my mom didn't, but we still didn't make enough, and we needed EBT and food stamps and the whole kit and caboodle, and my mom was so embarrassed that starting at 12 I did pretty much all the grocery shopping, which I don't mind, but poverty tends to strain families, and it did mine. Lastly, the reason we should raise minimum wage is to help people in poverty. Give them a way to work out of it. Raising the minimum wage to at least $15 an hour will help with the quality of life. According to the Center for American Progress, last accessed March 30th, the percentage of Americans who say that they support raising the minimum wage has grown during the pandemic. 66% of Americans supported raising the minimum wage in February of 2020, while 72% supported it by August 2020. With the American people backing a bill to raise minimum wage, we get closer and closer to being able to get it done. What you can do to help is vote. Vote for any possible way to raise minimum wage to help overall the American people. Like, vote for your neighbors. Today we talked about poverty due to not making enough money, government programs, and voting for a higher minimum wage. In a world that relies so much on money and puts so much value on it, we need to ensure that people have enough money to put back into the economy in order to maintain a stimulated economy. Money has a very circular life. You make it and you spend it and you make it back again, and it just keeps going and going. And no one deserves to suffer because they work an entry-level job, and no one deserves any less because they aren't the CEO of a rich company. And I think that's important to know.